Alright guys, this is Captain Alex Mason here, and I'm going to actually kind of read the journal entries now for the Call of Duty Classified website. Now, I've read some of them already, but I'm going to read them again just in case somebody was good or smart enough to upload it to the actual wiki page. So let's continue. March 20th, 1941. Mein Liebling Marie. I hope this letter finds you well. How is life in England? I hope that your studies at Cambridge are going well. Father always said that you were a natural scholar of our family, so I am sure adapting to your new life has been seamless. I have so much to tell you. The last time we spoke, I was angry, furious. I know that my anger was misdirected at you. I was frustrated that I had to leave my studies at Heidelberg to care for Father. After my mentor, Professor Linden, retired, I thought that there was no way I could ever play a role in Germany's scientific renaissance. But fate is a funny thing. If I had stayed at Heidelberg, I would have missed out on the greatest discovery of our time, right underneath our noses, Marie. I wept when they found it. When workers came in from the mine, talking about what they had found, this artifact of legend, my life has meaning again. My life has purpose. I had to get this message to you, or to where it mattered, to the Deutsches Reich. My contacts at the university put me in touch with the Führer Heinz F. Richter. From there, it was only a matter of days before the Ahnenerbe rolled in with a full battalion of troops. I took Dr. Straub down to the chapel myself, showed him the hilt to what we have found, Barbarossa's sword, Barbarossa being the Holy Roman Emperor, which led us to the zombies info before. Let's see. Who would have imagined, Mary, we giving one of the inner circle a personal tour? Destiny has placed me at the right place at the right time. In the coming days, I am going to present hum with my papers. Highlights from the research I had done with Professor Linden, findings that will severely help us to understand the potential of what we uncovered. I wish I could tell you more, and I hope to see you again. When the smoke is cleared, please forgive my heated words earlier. I will always be your brother, Mary. Liebe Grüße. I kind of forgot what that meant. I know Liebe means loving, but I can't remember what Grüße means. Okay, second entry. June 22nd, 1943. Today has been difficult. I continue to run into obstacles with the Colonel, despite the clear and alarming evidence I have documented for him. While I am grateful for the training I received here, I fear I will have to extend my reach beyond Prince William country. The messages from Klaus have grown more desperate, and I hesitate to write this, but they begin to border on madness. My contact in the UK recommended that I get in touch with a military architect who is spearheading a new organization that may be useful. He called it the Monuments, Fine Arts, and Archives Program. Rolling his eyes at the clunky, no-nonsense American name, but he said that they might be the best shot for getting behind enemy lines. This group will be focused on recovering and safeguarding historical and cultural monuments, items that the Nazis have stolen from the most valuable collections in Europe. While I could care less about the dusty artifacts Klaus claims to have uncovered for the Nazis, they say they may provide the angle I need to get an operation moving in Middleburg into my hometown. After my exodus from Bavaria 10 years ago, I never thought I would return. I saw the beer hall putsch for what it was, the first winds of the coming storm. Klaus was more optimistic. He drew hope from the fiery words of the Kampfbund, which struggle. I can't remember what Bund means. But I know Kampf means struggle. Klaus has always been an idealist, always a patriot, but even those pillars of his generally stalwart character are beginning to wear thin. I worry about my brother. He has a brilliant mind, top of his class at Heidelberg, monitored by one of the greatest physicists of our time, and one of the ambitious new voices leading the Deutsche Physik. I have tried not to think about Klaus, but to put him out of my mind for years. Our last fight was about Father's death. Now I fear my years of training with the OSS must come to service for one singular cause, to rescue my brother. And, came with a video. And this is what every person who got the promotional art received. And it just ends there. It's a 20... okay. Next one. Klaus's letter was written on the pages from the 1906 edition of Das alte Wunderland der Pyramiden. Pyramiden? I don't know. By Karl Opel. Mary, please forgive how scattered this letter is. I am scared that I will be found out as treasonous to the mission, and therefore I am writing to you in the cover of night. Things have gotten worse here. As expected, the salt mines have been converted into a laboratory. The sword piece, this hilt, has not yet budged from its resting place. I presented myself to Dr. Straub with all of the zeal and ambition I could muster. I knew that we would eventually... would see how destiny had placed me at the right place, the right time. I presented him with my papers, some of the research I'd done with Linden. He looked his nose at me, said my work was amateur, poorly documented, but in the end they said my familiarity with the area would be useful. And like a desperate fool, I was grateful for this. I thanked him. He knew our father, Mary. He had heard of how father's weapon designs had helped the Kaiserliche Marine. But he laughed that the brilliant Heinz Fischer had ended up making toys. I did not care to tell him that father had chosen to make toys as penitence to bring joy where before his inventions had brought only death. I should have listened to father. I should have listened. I do not yet know when I will be able to contact you again. I hope that you have found it in your heart to forgive me. If not, I hope you will pass along my story as a cautionary tale. I hope that you will fight whatever horror are hidden beneath the mountain. Viele Grüße, K. July 24th, 1943. I have just received an interesting letter, a response from Major Hank Rideau of the newly formed MFAA. Apparently, the program has been rubber-stamped by the President himself after weeks of being deferred through pencil pushers and secretarial layers. My inquiring finally landed on the desk of someone who may be able to make a difference. Major Rideau is direct and to the point. He expressed a clear interest in the artifacts that Klaus has alluded to, and pressed me for details. Unfortunately, my brother is far less interested in these medieval museum pieces than he is in he captors attempts at discerning their metaphysical properties. I have highlighted a few pieces of archaeological evidence Klaus managed to share in his notes, in hopes that it will be enough to entire Rideau into action. It is a paltry list, I know. 6 years ago, the Middleburg mines uncovered a chamber below the salt mines, buried in the roots of the Kyffhauser. I don't know how to pronounce that name. It's got an umlaut over the A. Mountains. It contains several altars and is adorned with remarkably preserved medieval carvings. A hand-picked band of fanatical Nazi thugs, a group known as the Ahnenerbe, yeah, that's how you pronounce it, took over the mines shortly thereafter and sealed off the area. Nobody was allowed in or out of Middleburg. Klaus believes the chamber to have been the chamber dedicated to the Emperor Frederick I, King of Germany and Roman Emperor, and that it has been untouched for 800 years. There is something in the chamber, some relic from the area which their leader believes to be sacred and powerful. A tool that is important to what will lead to the Fourth Reich. Apparently a quote from the Anführer. I must confess that I refrain from communicating this final bit to the Major. The Ahnenerbe has always been something of a joke in the Allied intelligence circles, chalked up to their leaders' fanatical superstition and a welcome waste of Nazi time and money. This is why I believe that even the OSS has been hesitant to engage in such obvious nonsense. I pray that the hint of medieval treasures will be enough to bring the MFAA to my door. And another video. This one I think shows the lab. Yep. It's some pretty fucked up shit. And that doll creeps the hell out of me. I thought the teddy bears were bad. Nope. These dolls are worse. And I don't know what else was in that lab, but it doesn't look pretty. Let's see. Next one. Was written... So now this other one was written from Faust, eine Tragödie, which, ironically enough, conveniently enough, if you guys have played the original Zombies games, like Treyarch's version, and you've played Keynote or Toten, you'll notice that there's a bunch of posters around with the word Faust on it. That is what this is referring to. The guy who sold his soul so he could live for a long time and a bunch of other things. I don't want to get too much into the details. I'd rather you do that on your own. M. They have done horrible things here, monstrous things. Straub is more twisted than you can imagine, so driven to bring about the final Reich that nothing else matters to him. He will stop at nothing, Mary. Our home is no longer our home. It is a horrible shell of what you once knew. Promise me that you will never return here. I want to stay and fight, but I am scared. Straub is beginning to grow suspicious of me. It is almost as if the Nazis can smell my doubt. I need to escape Middleburg. I pray that it is safe in Cambridge, but I fear that soon we will all be witness to whatever horrors or horrorous, that's what it's written here, they are keeping hidden underneath the mountain. I do not know when I will be able to contact you again. If you do not hear anything, I hope you will pass along my story as a cautionary tale. Didn't he just send this before? I have this image of arriving at the King's Cross railway station, suitcase in hand, with you there to greet me. The sun is shining. The war is over and the Allied forces have won. We are finally free. VGK. Another journal entry. Actually, before we do that, I should probably show you what these journal entries look like. So this is one. That's another. Okay. So we have those. I don't think we saw much of these ones, but I'm just going through them Again, I know I wasted a lot of time doing this. I'm sorry. Okay. Let's go back to where we were last at first. Showing that. It's the recent one. And this. So apparently there's also another thing here. It's I don't know what that is, to be honest. Whatever it is, it's not good. It doesn't look good. Okay. Did I... Oh, whoops. I showed that one a little too early. That was after this one that I'm about to read next. August 3rd, 1943. After weeks of careful questioning in regards to the Middelburg discoveries, Rodeo has finally approved a mission into Bavaria. My careful framing of Klaus's notes had nothing to do with this good news, apparently. As is so often the case, events beyond my control opened the door for opportunity. According to a source from our agent in La Resistance, the Nazis have begun shipping stolen art into the very same mines we have been discussing for the past 2 months. This was enough to convince the MFAA to take this risk, their first mission behind enemy lines. But the best news comes at the very bottom of Rodeo's letter. A simple request for an operations leader with experience running espionage, someone with extensive knowledge of the area, preferably an agent fluent in the local dialect. The Major says he has already forwarded a requested name to the OSS. Name. Singular. Dare I hope? She's hoping it's him, which, to be honest, I think we both know the answer to that. Okay, so this is the next one. This is also found in a USB drive, because, you know, USBs definitely existed in the 40s. I now know the horrors that have brought upon this earth. The townspeople have all been disappearing. First it was vagrants and drunks who frequented the night shops. Then Herr Schuler went missing. Our street is almost vacant. The butcher shop has been closed for over a week with no note on the door. It wasn't until Straub brought me underneath the mountain to show me his Meisterstück that I realized the true evil that has been festering beneath our feet. It is as if he was trying to rebuild Mittelberg in his own terrifying image. It is there I saw our neighbors who had gone missing, but something was dreadfully different. Their eyes were vacant, their teeth rotting out of their skulls. I have no doubt that this will be my fate when Straub no longer has use for me. For a man who scoffed at my research, it appears as if he has implemented my techniques to create this horrible mess. Mary, I know I told you to stay away from Middelburg, but I now rescind that statement. Please come and find me. Whether or not you have forgiven me for my role in all of this, I hope that you will find some humanity within me. If not for me, do it for our family, for our father. Ich liebe dich. Mary, auf Wiedersehen. So he just said, I love you. As like brother-sister love. On the back of the letter, there are a bunch of these drawings with experiments as well as text written in German. Experiment 14B. We need soldiers. The neural connections in their hypothalamus are preformed, therefore making them easier instructed for obedience and violence. By stimulating the pain receptors on these corpses, I can improve their strength and their pace. My extensive studies of the impact of pain effects on the human biomass have been confirmed. Peter Straub. Oh, apparently we've got a bunch of these other ones here. Okay, this is the last Mary Journal entry, I think. August 25th, 1943. I am trying to keep my emotions in check. The papers that I have been waiting for just now came across my desk. I have been assigned lead operative on the Middleburg mission. Major Rideau and I will begin tactical planning in another week, and I have to remind myself not to be too effusive in my gratitude for his help. He is an interesting man, fairly unremarkable in both stature and presentation, but with a quiet drive that has helped him to move through bureaucratic channels with impressive speed. Rideau has presented me with a list of his top men from the MFA, a collection of soldiers and academics from across the Allied spectrum. I need to form a small team, no more than 3 experts to join me in a mission that formed around the recovery of a handful of stolen paintings, a relic from the reign of Frederick I, and, God willing, Klaus Fischer. I need to make sure that it is a team that can display flexibility and strength under duress. If even a small part of what my brother has said is true, this will not be a simple mission. My first priority will be to recruit the Maquis agent who discovered the paintings being moved from Paris. Beyond that, I will need somebody familiar with medieval antiquities. Finally, I will need some muscle, a soldier with experience on the front lines. I'd like to avoid bloodshed, but my instincts say we should prepare for the worst. We will need to arrive and depart without notice. I am thinking we may take cover under the guise of a military supply train. Preferable in the snowy season. The line that runs by Middleburg should still be in service, as that section of Bavaria is benign enough to have avoided Allied shelling. But I am getting ahead of myself. For now, it is enough to know that I have set things in motion to return home, to set things right, and save my brother from whatever horrors he has uncovered. Mary. So now we get to look at some of the pictures. And it's a gruesome image, but hey. That's it for that one. Alright. So these other ones, I can't take credit for getting these because I didn't actually find them. But in other words, it basically was a bunch of intercepts that you have to find in order to actually get this one, and this was available in the multiplayer beta for a while. The maps were Gibraltar, Point du Hoc, and the Ardennes Forest, and Aachen. But each one had different intercept messages, and somebody found this, I can't remember who, but the first message is called Intercept Able, which I want to look, see where this, oh, this just leads to that. We're not going to Spotify. Oh, what the fuck? What are you doing? Stop.
Attention. Attention. We who are prosperous must break all ties. I repeat, we who are prosperous must break all ties. If you can hear this transmission, répondez s'il vous plaît. La part spot are now in motion. Vive la résistance.
Now, those beep, like the tones that you were hearing at the end, that was in Morse code, and that was all U's, apparently. I don't know exactly what they all mean when you put them together. Oh, that's what they meant. Okay, now I feel stupid. So now this is the second one. This was found in Point 2 Hawk, and this is Intercept Baker.
Dispatch received. Action is on Sergeant and I breaking all ties. Please advise on operations order. Focus on Tiger's eyes and ears or her stripes.
That one was W's. Now this is the third message. Intercept Charlie.
All spots should target the stripes. Reports confirm tigers are most susceptible when they are drinking water. All those who are prosperous, break your ties. From now until the leopard wakes, we fight together. Pour la même patrie. Pour le monde.
B. And finally, the last intercept, Intercept Dog, is found on Aachen. The other one was in the Ardennes forest, I forgot to mention.
Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. The prosperous have broken all ties. No tiger will make it north before the leopard wakes. The spots are on the move. Your prosperous stand 30 kilometers away. All ties severed. We pray for Neptune and await your arrival as Mother Tiger sleeps.
Now this one was different. This was G and H. So, what with all the letters that we got, I'm gonna go to the website and type that in for you so you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna take this out real quick. I hope that doesn't do any bad things. So, after receiving all those intercept messages, you put all the letters together in that order, and you get UWBGH, which is in the form of a code. And if this thing loads, I'll have no issues. Looks like I still have to keep it. So, let's go. U. W. B. G. H. Once done, that'll decipher it as tiger, which is what they've been mentioning many, many times for whatever reason. I don't know. We're just going to accept it. And we get the same loading screen, you know, you got the radio, the journal, personnel files, which I'll have to read more on later. And we get this newer option right here that says Prosper on it. And you see what looks like a griffin symbol or whatever. But when you load it up, you get this. If it'll actually load fast enough.